Hi everyone, this is Stephen Judge, clinical naturopath and nutritionist in Australia. I wanted to briefly cover a topic today that many women can most probably relate to, depending on your hormonal health status. You may have heard this term floating around on the blogosphere, and it's coined estrogen dominance. So I just want to explore what this term actually means, what the signs and symptoms are, and what you can do about it if you suffer from these symptoms and the overall picture. As contrary to conventional belief many years ago, these symptoms are not normal, and you can have a healthy period and happy hormones if your environment and terrain are right. You know, I can only imagine what some women go through, and I meet many clients who have suffered intolerably for so many years, and just with some really gentle and foundational prescriptions and lifestyle changes, some appropriate herbal medicine and dietary stuff, they feel so much better and honestly didn't even know that they could feel pretty much pain-free having their period, you know, so really powerful and liberating stuff. So the symptom picture of estrogen dominance basically includes having extremely painful and heavy periods, painful breasts, fibroids and cysts, weight gain, irritability, fluid retention, can be related to skin issues such as acne if PCOS is ruled out, having irregular periods, thyroid dysfunction, the two are intricately connected, just to name a few. The most common are having very heavy and painful periods, although most women present with a variety of these cluster of symptoms. So, you know, the name estrogen dominance would kind of suggest excess estrogen in the body. So a better term to use is really estrogen excess, or even better would be relative estrogen excess, as the issue here is commonly technically due to inadequate progesterone production, or having normal levels of estrogen in the body, but you have a heightened tissue or cell sensitivity to your estrogen. So yeah, before I go on, please say hi if you're watching the replay. Please feel free to leave a comment, any questions you have. It's quite a big area, hormones, hormone balance, female reproductive health. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you leave and get back to you, or tag any friends that you think might find this information valuable. So yeah, just quickly, I just mentioned progesterone before. So the issue is sometimes actually being progesterone deficiency relative to estrogen in the body. So progesterone is your calming and soothing and anti-inflammatory hormone that is or should be produced moments after you ovulate and should continue through most of the second half of your cycle. You know, a lot of clients I see present deficient in progesterone, and usually with a picture of relative estrogen excess. So estrogen is being released the first few weeks of your cycle leading up to ovulation. And estrogen stimulates your happy hormone serotonin, which is why you generally lean towards being more outgoing and energetic just a few days leading up to ovulation. You know, so estrogen is completely an essential and powerful hormone. It's just you need exactly the right balance, as you do not want a deficiency and you certainly do not want an excess, which tends to be more of an issue for women. So estrogen excess is usually one of the major causes of heavy periods, breast pain, PMS, irritability, fibroids, and it increases the risk of breast cancer. So it's a pretty important topic and something that we have a lot of tools for helping balance out. So I'm just going to go over some of the major causes now and some tips for alleviating these causes and helping you reduce excess estrogen in the body. So one of the major issues is poor estrogen clearance due to impaired metabolism or detoxification. So basically all estrogen must be properly detoxified through both the liver and the colon. So with liver detoxification, this requires ample and consistent amounts of particular nutrients such as B vitamins, selenium, and this process can also be incredibly supported by particular herbal medicines, including St. Mary's thistle, schizandra, rosemary, to name a few very specific ones. Some women may be genetically predisposed to poor estrogen clearance via the liver due to MTHFR defects or Pyrrole's disorder. Something to also consider, which a naturopath or nutritionist can investigate for you if appropriate, as nutrients needed for these such as zinc and B vitamins, magnesium, and a need to generally reduce oxidative stress and inflammation in the body, which will ultimately affect your ability to make and properly excrete hormones, particularly estrogen. So food is medicine to utilize for proper detoxification of estrogen in the liver are foods from the brassica family, so broccoli, kale, Brussels sprouts, and many women successfully use supplemental broccoli sprout extract, which has a chemical in it called sulforaphane, which has extremely powerful anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and phase 2 liver detoxification properties. It's also a really powerful anti-carcinogenic. It's been clinically trialed to help young children who have behavioral disorders. So, a really cool supplement. It's generally used very safely. I prescribe it a lot. It's a typical kind of ingredient you'll see in detoxes and cleansers and stuff like that for good reason. But just remember to go low and slow if you've never used it before and you do have a bit of hormonal disruption going on, as it's quite strong, and you do not want to go in too hard or too quick, as you may end up in a healing crisis if you stimulate your liver detox pathways too quickly. Some practitioner formulas combine broccoli extract with things like turmeric, which is also perfect for reducing inflammation and for phase 2 liver detoxification, particularly the estrogen, and also with amino acids like glycine and taurine. So they're all really good combinations. The function of the bowels are also super important here, because if you are not having regular bowel movements, and by regular I mean at least 1 to 2 a day, once estrogen is cleared by the liver and reaches the bowel for elimination, estrogen can be reabsorbed and recycled through the body, which can inevitably cause an estrogen excess picture. So it's really important for the gut to be strong and functioning optimally. You need to have a nourished and well-supported liver, and you need to have gut bacteria diversity and regular bowel movements. So this should be a #1 focus of ensuring you have balanced hormones and are clearing estrogen effectively. I've said it once, I'll say it again. People have been saying it for thousands of years BC. Everything begins in the gut. It's super important to all aspects of our health. And in this case, if you have hormonal imbalance and you're taking a bunch of supplements, but you're not treating the gut and you're not supporting the liver, you're not really going to get anywhere. So in relation to the gut, in fact, when there's an imbalance of bad bacteria in the gut, there can be extremely high levels of an enzyme called beta-glucuronidase, which in a nutshell basically prevents detoxification of estrogen and results in the reabsorption and circulation of estrogen, which we do not want. So, you might be doing a lot of liver detoxification support and dietary stuff, but if you have imbalanced gut flora, which isn't being addressed, you're still potentially reabsorbing and overloading the liver, which could be driving your symptoms. So you need to be looking at things such as incorporating prebiotic and probiotic foods into your diet. I have a recorded video of this on my Facebook page and my website if you want to know more about these. Also supporting healthy liver function with herbal medicine, B vitamins, antioxidants, Minerals such as selenium and iodine in this case, although you should consult a practitioner before doing this, particularly if you've got some thyroid stuff going on. And supplements such as something known as calcium D-glucarate is fantastic for ensuring when estrogens reach the bowel that they're being eliminated and not being reabsorbed. As I mentioned before about the enzyme beta-glucuronidase, calcium D-glucarate basically inhibits this enzyme. So this can be very useful for some women if you've got some gut conditions going on, you've got the symptom picture of estrogen dominance, and while you're healing the gut, calcium D-glucarate can be really useful for just making sure you are excreting estrogens properly. Many of my clients respond really well to calcium D-glucarate. Another fantastic one in the food as medicine realm is ground flaxseed meal. So linseed or flaxseed meal, you must grind the seed fresh to break down the hull and reap the benefits of the oil and the plant lignans. Basically, ground flaxseed meal increases estrogen clearance. It's very high in fiber. It increases something in the body called sex hormone binding globulin, which basically reduces free hormones in the blood and just make sure they're being transported properly, which essentially will improve menstruation and ovulation. And most importantly, flaxseed meal, it improves the ratio of estrogen to progesterone in favor of progesterone. I recommend many clients to purchase a small coffee grinder or nut and seed grinder if they don't have one from Kmart or wherever, so that they can buy the flax seeds fresh and then grind them at home themselves. Please don't rely on pre-made flaxseed or linseed meal at health food stores, as it's super sensitive to oxygen and light. At home, you do want to freshly grind them and then store them in the fridge for a maximum of about 3 days. So, you know, really inexpensive tool to get into the kitchen. You can just add it into smoothies or whatever. Yeah, ground flaxseed meal is really cool for binding estrogens and clearing them from the bowel. So in relation to overloading the liver and the bowels, estrogen excess can also be caused by internal toxins, so those that are produced if we have dysbiotic or bad bacteria, which needs to be addressed, as I've mentioned, but also absorbing toxins from the environment is a huge one. A particular group of them are termed xenooestrogens, which basically mimic estrogen in the body and are also known as endocrine disruptors. So these are environmental toxins that are chemically similar to and act like estrogen in the body, which we do not want from environmental toxins. So if you're presenting with an estrogen excess picture, it's crucial to avoid sources of xenooestrogens, which basically come from BPA plastic, pesticides, unfiltered water that we drink because there will be runoff from farms and factory waste, conventional household chemicals that you'll find in detergents and soaps and cosmetics. Cosmetics is a whole other talk. They not only contain some xenooestrogens, but a range of chemicals that disrupt hormones and our gut, such as parabens, phthalates, and they also may contain heavy metals, which you do not want disrupting the delicate balance of essential minerals in the body. You know, such as zinc, magnesium, iodine, to name a few really important ones. So it's super important to avoid plastic, filter your water, please clean out and go over your cosmetics and household items. You know, there's so many cool brands nowadays, natural ingredient-based cosmetics and makeup, household items, cleaning stuff, you know, that's all at health food stores, it's all online. Use naturally based fragrant and chemical-free soaps. Also read the labels of condoms, diaphragm gels. You know, you can punch xenooestrogens into Google and find some pretty handy lists and resources these days. So yeah, another major underlying cause are environmental toxins, which essentially is another load on the liver and the gut to excrete. Another important cause, just to quickly address, is obesity, because having excess body fat can make a particular kind of estrogen which you do not want, which is called oestrogen. And this one basically impairs your ability to ovulate, and if you're postmenopausal, can also increase your risk of uterine cancer. So it's really important to, I don't want to say focus on losing weight, I would say focus on creating a healthy diet, healthy lifestyle, a healthy mindset. You know, weight loss will naturally be a byproduct of these things if they're tailored successfully to your needs. And support from an empathic practitioner is really helpful and therapeutic as well, and super important. So please don't get caught in the calories in, calories out and deprivation approach to weight loss. You know, let's get holistic and self-loving about it and about health in general. You know, this is a classic scenario of if you've got a hormone imbalance and gut issues and inflammation, and instead of really diving into these, and you're just focusing on calories in, calories out, or trying not to eat too much, you know, nothing's really going to happen. You know, you're setting yourself up to fail and then feel guilty about it, which we don't want. So when it comes to weight loss, you know, we need, particularly in women, we need to address hormonal balance. If you correct this and, you know, make sure you got strong digestion, you know, weight loss and metabolism will just naturally balance out. Unfortunately, hormonal birth control, the oral contraceptive pill, it's a source of a chemical called ethinyl estradiol, which is a xenophobic estrogen. A xenooestrogen, which is a lot more stronger than your natural estrogen, which is called estradiol. And, you know, this chemical, the oral contraceptive pill, also depletes our gut bacteria and impairs our detoxification pathways. So anyone coming off the pill is going to need some gut, liver, and general support to mediate the effects of the pill and reduce any downstream effects of estrogen dominance. And if you are on the pill, you know, there are some particular things you can do to protect your gut and your digestion, namely B vitamin, zinc, and pro and prebiotics. Not to go off topic, but just to name a few things if you are on the pill. You know, the Authority on Female Repro Health, an Australian and Canadian naturopath called Lara Bryden. She coins the action of the pill as chemical castration, as the pill does not regulate the period, which, you know, I meet a few clients who think that's kind of what the pill is doing for them. But essentially, you're taking a synthetic form of estrogen that essentially completely shuts down ovulation and suppresses the production of your own natural estrogen. So it's, you know, it's important just to understand quickly, if you're on the pill, that it's a synthetic version of your own estrogen, and is an entirely different chemical with very different side effects. So just be aware of this if you think you have an estrogen excess presentation and you're on the pill. It's something you may need to talk about with your gyno and your naturopath about whether or not it's actually suitable for you. Finally, some women don't actually technically have excess estrogen, but their estrogen receptors become hypersensitive due to the presence of chronic inflammation and or histamine, which is why in some women dairy can cause really bad period pain. So it's worth considering moving from your diet while trying to balance out hormones in your gut. A really useful dietary tool is consuming phytoestrogens, which are basically plant sources of estrogen-like molecules from foods, which come in the source of legumes and nuts, particular vegetables, and soy. So just a quick note on soy. Contrary to the blogosphere and general ideas around soy that they cause excess estrogen, they cause estrogen-dependent cancers, they cause men to have boobs. This is really incorrect. In fact, soy influences estrogen receptors to be less sensitive to estrogen due to their ability to stimulate what are called beta receptors, which is one of our estrogen receptors. which is actually anti-cancer and has an anti-proliferative effect, which is fantastic for reducing the risk of breast cancer. It's actually the alpha receptor, the other estrogen receptor, which elicits cell proliferation and essentially causes the problem of estrogen-sensitive cancers, which will be driven by things such as xenooestrogens from the environment and a poor ability to detoxify and metabolize your own estrogen effectively. So, you know, I'm not saying to eat mock meat, soy ice cream, isolated soy proteins. You know, please try and avoid these sources of soy. When I say soy, I'm mostly talking about traditionally prepared fermented soy foods like tempeh, miso, natto, organically sourced tofu, edamame beans, and, you know, in conservative amounts, as they are traditionally eaten in Japan and other cultures, not as the main meal on a daily basis. But, you know, eaten in moderation and in the correct amounts, soy is extremely healthy food as medicine and is essentially a tool to help with proper estrogen clearance, given that you've got some liver and gut support as well. So just to finish off, it's really important to get investigations by your doctor or a naturopath if you're presenting with really severe symptoms of hormonal imbalance, because you need to rule out conditions like endometriosis. This is classically has been thought of as an estrogen-dependent condition, but we now know that endometriosis is an inflammatory disease where endometrial tissue grows throughout the pelvis and is, yes, worsened by estrogen excess. This is true, but it is not the cause. Endo really needs specialized immune modulating and anti-inflammatory treatments. And it really is a complex condition that needs an integrated approach with natural medicine and a really good specialist and a gyno. Another condition that can mask estrogen dominance are thyroid conditions. Because if you have an underactive thyroid, this basically impairs insulin sensitivity and prevents ovulation from occurring. So this can manifest as your typical estrogen dominant symptoms. And also just on thyroid, do not rely on your doctor simply ordering a test called TSH to rely on a diagnosis of hypothyroid. Not only is the reference range too wide, as in it may come back normal, but from a functional perspective, it is subclinically underactive. But you generally need an entire thyroid panel tested to properly analyze your thyroid function, which may have to come out of pocket if the doctor doesn't want to order it. Sometimes that's just inevitable, but I think it's around $110, $120. So, I mean, you know, it really is worth it if you've got some pretty severe symptoms and hormonal stuff going on and suspected thyroid imbalance. Also, sorry, just quickly, many women in their 40s or younger who have sluggish liver and gallbladder function may present with gallstones. I meet so many women in this age bracket who are having gallbladder removals, have got gallstones, have got impaired bile production in the liver. And this is because estrogen changes the composition of bile in the liver. It makes it more cholesterol rich and then so more susceptible to forming gallstones and sludge. You know, the typical presentation of a woman with gallstones is that they're in their 40s, they're overweight, they have a sluggish gut. So another thing to consider and think about in treating the gut and liver, and also looking at your methylation status with particular B vitamins and reducing inflammation. So yeah, that's it from me today. Please tag or comment any friends who might benefit from this. I meet so many women on a regular basis who are really struggling with hormonal imbalances. I have really painful and heavy periods. They don't have a period and they're trying to understand why. So just, you know, this relative estrogen excess picture is just one piece of the picture, but something definitely worth investigating, and just try and take some of the really basic takeaways, some of the things I mentioned earlier in the talk about making sure you're supporting your liver and your gut detoxification supporting your gut with pre and probiotics. There's some really powerful herbal medicine for supporting estrogen clearance in the liver. But if you are on the oral contraceptive pill, you generally may need to avoid some of these herbs because it will affect the metabolism of the pill, which you don't want. I think I mentioned before, if you are on the pill, please get onto taking zinc, pre and probiotics, and B vitamins. You might want to have your zinc and copper levels investigated by your GP or naturopath, as excess copper and zinc deficiency is a very common presentation in women with hormonal imbalances. And yeah, that's it from me. Thanks for joining, Elke. Hello. Hope you found this useful. Please share with all your friends. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Bye.